We'll now recognize Mr. Lynch, the ranking member of the Digital Asset Subcommittee, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank the ranking member as well, Mrs. Waters, for her work on putting this committee together, this hearing together. Members on both sides of the aisle have been keenly interested in the development of a retail central bank digital currency. And China's domestic retail central bank digital currency pilot, known as the ECNY, or the digital Yuan, has received a lot of focus from Congress recently as a challenge to the primacy of the United States dollar, and also as a full-spectrum surveillance tool for the Chinese government. However, usage of the digital yuan has so far remained very low, as consumers seem to be sticking with private payments ecosystems, including Alipay and WeChat Pay. There's been little focus, however, on mBridge, which is the cross-border bank-to-bank wholesale CBDC pilot that's being conducted by 4 countries, including China, which is the lead. I think it's Hong Kong, Thailand, and one of the countries in the Middle East. I'm blanking on it right now. But there are 7 more countries that have received offers to join. And mBridge, as you know, operates outside of SWIFT and the existing correspondent banking system, and could be a tool for sanctions evasion and other financial crimes. Mr. Harrell, how concerned should we be in Congress about China's central bank digital currency pilot project, and why?
Thank you, Congressman, for the question. I agree with you. It's been interesting to see on the domestic uptake in China of the ECNY how little interest there is. Now, Chinese consumers, probably because they don't actually want the Chinese central bank seeing everything they buy, are trying to stay outside of the ECNY. We obviously have a limited ability to affect the domestic deployment of a digital RMB in China. I think you are right to focus on the cross-border payments. I don't think that China and RMB-denominated payment rails displacing the dollar is going to be a challenge of the next 6 to 12 months, but I do think it's a midterm challenge. We've seen Russia with the Mir payment system try to create rails outside of Russia as we've put sanctions on Russia, and you see China trying to do exactly the same thing with its cross-border payment strategy. I think it is essential that we, as the U.S. government and this committee with jurisdiction on this issue, promote a strategy to maintain the preeminence of the U.S. dollar as the primary currency for reserve purposes and for international payments. And I think that's going to require us to both be competitive on our end, what can we do to make the dollar attractive, and it's going to require us to throw some sand in the gears of efforts by the Chinese and other countries like Russia to try to build out these alternative payment rails.
I'm thinking about, and I appreciate your response, but when we think of this as a global problem, the idea that we could ally with other countries that have the integrity of the SWIFT system and operate within that system, how could we partner with them? What could we do here to strengthen the SWIFT system? If not, I don't know if we could get buy-in from many of our allies to increase the strength of the U.S. dollar, but I do think we could get buy-in to increase the integrity and the affinity for operating within the SWIFT system, which would push back on this attempt by the Chinese and the Russians to adopt a different set of rails. What could we do to encourage or strengthen the SWIFT system?
So I'd make 2 comments, one in the SWIFT system, one outside, or sort of parallel to the SWIFT system. First, the Federal Reserve has an active program underway to try to speed up U.S. dollar payments that are currently going through the existing Federal Reserve organized payment rails. And I think that's really important because payments internationally can be slow, and we need to make sure that they are working faster so that people want to continue to use the existing system. And so I think what the Fed is doing is important, and then also putting friendly pressure on SWIFT and on the banks and their correspondent sort of relationships to make sure payments are sped up there too is another important area of work.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.